Okay, everybody, welcome to Creative Presentation in our week one lecture on Tuesday afternoon, right after Memorial Day. So hopefully you guys had a great long weekend and you're getting ready to get started with our class. So my name is Kristen Heaney and I'll be your instructor over the course of the next 4 weeks. So for the majority of you, it's your very first experience and time here in a Full Sail class. So I want to give you a very warm welcome. Glad you're here. It's always great to get to know brand new students each and every month. So we're going to have a very busy afternoon. It's probably going to be at least 2 hours, potentially a little over. I try to be very respectful of your time because I know you guys that are here live are pushing things around and moving things with work or family or whatever commitments you have to be here live. So I really do appreciate that. So I'll try to keep it at 2 hours as close as I possibly can. So again, great job on these decisions that you've made, whatever decisions and challenges that you've had to overcome to get here, but you're here and it's time to get started, to hit the ground running. And it's going to be a fast-paced month. You'll blink and you'll say, I can't believe this month is over already. So I know a lot of you guys are filled with energy, anticipation, some anxiety, some hesitation. So that's all very, very normal. But I'd like to kick off my sessions by just talking a little bit about just starting with Full Sail's motto. This is on their social media site. It was on there probably over a year and a half ago, so it's quite old. And I'm sure a lot of you guys also follow the Full Sail social media pages. But I like this one because it says, if you're serious about your dream, we'll take your dreams seriously. So I really want to just kind of just relay that to you guys. I think it's very true. I've been here for about a year and a half, and it's really just filled with people that want to be here to help you cross that finish line. But you really have to be the ones that are taking charge of that. So taking your own dreams seriously, and we'll be behind you 100%. But you have to be the one taking charge of moving it forward to the finish line. So you have to be that driving force in your own education. So today's agenda, it's pretty jam-packed, as I mentioned. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what we'll be covering today in our first lecture. So first and foremost, I'd like to start out by talking about why in the world is creative presentation your first class. And for the majority of you guys, unless you're retaking or kind of doing a restart or something like that with your schedule, for the majority of you, this is the very first course that you will experience at Full Sail. And there's reasons for that. So I will go into that in a moment. Then I'll talk a little bit about myself and how it is that I've landed here in front of you guys today. And I want to hear from you guys as well with some introductions. And then next, I'll give you some screenshots and some just things that are important to know about the FSO online platform, because that's how we will communicate and submit assignments and really interact with each other for the majority of the month. And then policies and procedures. And then I will go into great detail along with examples of the week one assignments that you guys are expected to complete throughout the week due on Sunday coming up next week. I'll talk a little bit about content. Really, our focus this week is all about connecting with an audience. So I'll talk quite a bit about that. And then, of course, a wrap up. And I always, even if I cut the recording right at 2 or something like that, I will normally stay in the room 5 or 10 minutes afterwards just to see if there's any conversations that anyone would like to have. Make myself available to you past the point of the lecture. So if you have any questions, need clarification, anything like that. But I will stop periodically throughout the lecture to address questions with you guys as well. So don't feel like you have to wait until the very end. I will stop every now and again to make sure everyone's clear, we're all on the same page, and we can move forward there. So back up to the top of the agenda, talking about why creative presentation. Okay, so this is a course that a lot of people kind of tie together with, a traditional public speaking course. And that's, of course, everyone's favorite activity, right? Public speaking. I highly doubt that. Most people dread this activity. However, it's incredibly important to be able to communicate your brand, yourself, your ideas, your purpose in a constructive, creative, and professional way. Any industry you go into, this is a vital skill. You have to be able to professionally communicate with your peers, with superiors, with clients, with employers. So that's really what this course is all about, kind of refining those public speaking skills a bit, but also learning how to convey your message in a creative and a memorable way. So that's really the general overview of our course. And we'll have activities throughout the next couple of weeks to help you work on your vocal ability, your visual presentation, the content of your presentation, and I'll talk much more about that today. I might be overwhelming some of you right now. I don't want to do that. But I wanted to just kind of give you an overview about creative presentation, or CRP as it's abbreviated. But before I move forward with the introductions, I want to just give you an overview very quickly of our go-to training, kind of this medium that we're interacting in right now. For the majority of you guys, it's pretty darn simple on your side. You're going to be viewing, for the majority of the time, a keynote presentation or some examples here. I have your microphones muted as I'm talking because as the time goes through, more and more people will join the session, and if you can imagine all of that background noise happening at that time, it can get rather just kind of disturbing. So I keep your microphones muted for that purpose. But if there's a time when we pause and you want to talk, I can absolutely unmute you and we can have a conversation. In a couple minutes, I'll ask for introductions as well. But you'll also see in that control panel, there's the chat box. A couple of you have added messages in there, so thank you for doing that. And for the majority of the time, that's how we will interact if you have questions. And I do try to kind of keep up with it. It is a little bit hectic on my end here. I have 2 screens going and a chat box and trying to remember my own content. So it can get a little jumbly sometimes. So I am trying to watch the chat box, but if you guys would keep, like the personal stories or the chats sometimes about video games or movies or stuff like that, to a different time, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it so that I can kind of keep up with what your questions are moving through that chat box. That moves rather fast, and it's a really tiny box on my end. And then also you can see the list of attendees. Right now we have 15 people total. And so hopefully some more will be joining us live. And if you wanted to unmute, or if you wanted to ask a question, and you can raise your hand, you'll see a little hand icon, and you click that, and periodically I'll look through the list and see if anyone has their hand up to ask a question, and I can unmute you. So that's kind of a crash course in everything that you guys need to know for the go-to trainings. If you are unable to make it to a go-to training, the live one, don't freak out because you can't make it, or you had to leave early, or you came in late. That's not a problem. I completely understand that my students are all over the place with different time zones, with different schedules, commitments, obligations, and that's one of the great benefits to taking classes online, is that you can fit it into your schedule. So I do record each and every one of these trainings so you can rewatch it. You can see it, in the evening time, in the morning time, whenever it's convenient for you if you can't make it to the live session. So I will hit record on each and every one of these and then send out the recording within a couple of hours after the conclusion of the live session. It does take some time to render and upload. I put it on my YouTube channel, and then I send a follow-up announcement to you guys with the link, as well as some really helpful information for the assignments throughout the week. So I wanted to give you an overview about what to expect with the go-to session. So let's move forward with some introductions. First, myself. So here is me. I am Kristen Heaney. I am an associate course director here for Full Sail. I teach 2 classes. I teach creative presentation, our class, and then another class called professional communication and presentations, which is one that a lot of students are taking towards the end of their degree programs, and it's actually phasing out. So this might be my last month teaching it, but my lectures for that class are at 7 to 8 p.m. also on the same night as ours. So there's a lot of lecturing going on, but I do teach those 2 courses, and I am sometimes in the office. I do work from home as well, but these are great ways to get in touch with me. In addition to the FSO platform, there is my email address, khaney@fullsail.com. And this is also my office extension, but I do share with you guys my Google Voice number, because I'm sometimes, like today, I'm working from home right now, so I wouldn't be able to access any calls in the office. But if you wanted to contact me either by phone or by text, you can reach out to me on that Google Voice number. I sent it out to you guys in my welcome announcement. I don't put it up here on the recording because it goes onto YouTube, and that's my personal number. It comes straight into my cell phone. So if you guys would use it with just kind of keeping some parameters on there, just try not to use it any time other than 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. I've had a couple students call me at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I am I am dead to the world asleep at that point. So just, kind of use those time parameters, but it is available to you. It's the quickest way to get in touch with me. If you're more comfortable texting, I'm happy to do that as well. So that's a little bit about me. Me personally and professionally, those two little guys in the picture are my world. Those are my boys. It is officially almost summertime here where they're going to be home all summer. So there's been a lot of Fortnite playing in my house. It's like a big addiction here for some reason. But these two monsters are my world. The little guy on the left is Joey. He's almost an 8th grader. And the little guy on the right is Jake. He is my almost 6th grader. So I have 2 middle school boys, if you can imagine what my world is like right now. It's a little crazy and hectic. But professionally and academic wise, I'm a lifelong resident of Central Florida. I've lived here all my life, and I attended UCF, or the University of Central Florida, a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, and decided originally wanted to go to law school and just changed my mind. I just thought, no, that's not going to be my path. But I really wanted to continue my education and studied corporate communication and technology at Rollins College, a private college here in Winter Park, Florida. So that's a little bit about my my education background. I've been teaching at the college level for about 5.5 years, and I've been with Full Sail for 1.5 years of those times teaching creative presentation, for the majority of the time online, which is definitely a different medium than in the classroom. But it's a really enjoyable course. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, but it's definitely a valuable tool that everyone could have in their own world. So that's definitely something that I'm hoping that you will take from this class as being a very valuable skill that you're learning throughout the month. All right, guys, office hours. Oh, did I not correct these? I did not correct these. I'm so sorry about this. I've shifted them a bit, and I'm sorry I didn't correct it on this slide here. But on Mondays, after we've gone through this holiday week, I'm going to be working from home on Mondays, and that is going to be my long day where I do my 2 lectures, and I'm available way into the evening, up until 9 p.m. It had been Tuesdays for a while, but I'm going to shift that. And then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I will be available 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then I will be back online from 4 to 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday, I'm in the office all day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So the announcement that I sent to you with the office hours are the correct ones. Sorry I didn't get a chance to correct this on my slides. I apologize for that. So a couple of great ways to stay in touch with me. I get a lot of students communicating with me quite a bit. So the best and most effective way to communicate is obviously through the FSO platform. That allows me to see what section you're in, what assignment you're referring to, maybe a back and forth communication. I can see the prior messages as well. Just keep in mind, guys, that right now, this is a very hectic week for most instructors. Right now, I have about 80 students total for the month of June, and I'm also closing out grading and my prior month for May, and that's about 70 students there. So I'm trying to make sure I'm able to learn your names, but it's going to take me a couple of times. So just be patient and give me some grace with that. It's a lot of students to manage at one point. But after this week, the focus will be completely on my June students. So we will move forward. But if you could just try to focus on communicating with me through the FSO platform as much as possible. It's the most effective way to do that. And you do so up here. These are just alerts, with messages and also notifications. And that's something that I wanted to show you guys and mention to you as well. I want you to log into the FSO platform and manage your account. This is very important. So first and foremost, I would like you guys to add your photo to your account. It really does help me learn you guys, your names, and when I can see your faces, it helps it to click a little bit quicker when you add your photo. So if you would, please be sure over the next day or two to add your picture to the platform. So you'll see my picture is up there along with a bio. And then down here, I've also clicked on all of my notifications. I know on the student side, this looks a little bit different, but I get emails whenever someone has messaged me within the platform, or, for you guys, I think it's when a grade has been submitted, if there's feedback on an assignment. So you definitely need to turn on all of your notifications so you don't miss any important messages within the platform. Otherwise, I could be trying to communicate with you and you don't even know it. So that's very important. Also, I would ask you guys to set your time zone. So everything, and this is important because everything for Full Sail online classes has a very strict deadline because you're dealing with a computer, right? I'm not sitting up all night waiting for your assignments, but you need to have it submitted by a certain date and time. And for the majority of our class, that's going to be Sunday nights by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what does that mean? So for instance, if you're in Colorado, if you're in California, you don't have an extra couple of hours to complete your assignment. So if it's 11:59 here in Orlando, East Coast time, your assignments are going to be due, in California at 8:59 p.m. East or Pacific time. So I want to be sure that you realize you don't have extra time. It's not going to be based on wherever you are with your time zones. All deadlines are Eastern Standard Time, and that's for everyone. So they are all the same. And that's what I just talked about here. You want to be sure to set that time zone. It helps to kind of shift things and make it to where it's applicable for your own time zone based on your location. So be sure that you log in and do that. All right, guys. So I've been talking for a solid 15 minutes, and I would love to get to know you guys a little bit better. So this is one of those times where I am definitely inviting you, if you would like to share a little bit about yourself and just talk over the microphones and start honing in on those communication skills. This would be a great time to do it. So if you wanted to just take maybe 30, 45 seconds and tell us your name, where you're from, what degree program you're entering into, and why did you choose this option. So this is where you would go into the GoToTraining control panel and raise your hand if you would like to speak over the microphones. And I'll take maybe 3 or 4 volunteers that would feel comfortable doing that. If not, you can go into the chat box and you could also kind of tell us a little bit about yourself as well. So I'll take a minute and see if there's any volunteers. Hopefully there is at least one. Okay, Gretchen saying you can't talk because you're at the office, and I know a lot of you guys are in situations where you might not be able to, but I will offer the opportunity. So Mercedes, I see your hand up first. I'm going to unmute your microphone. Mercedes?
Yes.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. So tell us about yourself.
My name is Mercedes. I'm from Elkhart, Indiana, and I'm entering in the graphic design program.
Okay, why did you choose graphic design?
Because I love to take pictures and create just a whole bunch of different things from my imagination, and it just sounded nice at the time.
Sounded nice. That's hilarious. So we'll be getting a lot of great visuals from you, I'm sure, this month. That's
Definitely. Definitely.
Thank you for sharing. I really do appreciate it, Mercedes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, so we had one volunteer. I've got a couple of others. Connor, I'm coming to you. Connor, your microphone doesn't appear to be on at this point. There it is.
Oh.
Hey,
hi.
Hi.
My name is Connor McConnell. I am from Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing the computer animation program.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Like way back, even before high school. I just always talked myself out of it one way or the other. And so I just finally was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. And Full Sail was just one of the best options for me. And
awesome.
I've been really excited to start.
That's great. So you just finally just decided to take the leap and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Connor, so much, and welcome to the class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. I'm coming to Byron. Hey, Byron.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
You sound thrilled to be here right now, Byron.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Byron. I'm from Killeen, Texas.
Okay.
and I'm actually trying to get into music, bachelor's of science.
Okay.
So that's something I'm trying to do. I'm excited because my kids is really excited about it too. So it's gonna be a lot different. This is my first year
Right.
actually going to school, so it's gonna be different.
I'm sure they'll be very proud of you when you finally get to graduation day. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and now I'm coming to Brett. Hey, Brett.
Hey there.
Hey, tell us
Hey,
about
so
yourself.
hey, my name's Brett, and I'm in Naples, Florida, and I kind of just spontaneously decided that I need to do something that I'm more passionate about because it takes less effort, but really you get more done. So, yeah, I decided last Tuesday that I wanted to go back to school, and then I called Full Sail, and then all of a sudden, 7 days later, here I am, and I'm going for the audio production bachelor's.
Okay, great.
So,
Well, how has your crash course been over the last 7 days? Has it been exciting and hectic?
yeah, super, super exciting. I have a lot of free time, so I've already kind of jumped in and got everything like started. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited to get this done.
That's great. I'm glad they could move so fast to get you started quickly. That's great.
Yeah, the team is great. They're super fast.
They are. There's a lot of really great, and we'll talk about it, of resources that you guys really have access to, and I think that admissions team really does a nice job getting you acclimated and get it started. So I'm glad to hear that you're here, up and running, and ready to go, Brett. Thank you.
Yeah, and I called them a lot. That also helps.
I also like to call you a lot too. You'll
Yeah,
probably be hearing from them a lot.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, so thank you for those 4 volunteers that spoke over the microphone. I have one more, Vance. Vance, I'll come to you, and then we will continue moving forward. Let's see. Hey, Vance.
Oh, hello.
How are
I'm
you?
having a headset issue, so sorry if I cut out in the meantime.
You sound great. So tell us about yourself.
I lived in Corsicana, Texas.
Okay.
Currently, right now, I am living in Fort Worth, Texas,
Okay.
and I am taking the game design bachelor's degree here at Full Sail.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And we have a lot of Texans, apparently. I think the last 4 people that talked were from Texas. So, yeah, that's great. So, welcome to the class, Vance. Thanks. Okay, guys. So, thank you for the volunteers that spoke. Whoops, my keynote went out for a minute. That spoke to all of us. So, continue kind of like pushing yourselves forward if there's ever opportunities to talk over the microphone or ask. A lot of people are very shy to do that. I completely understand. But any of those little tiny steps that continue to push you out of your comfort zone really do help you increase your confidence with this skill. So there's a couple of people that have also introduced themselves within the chat box. So welcome to you guys as well. Thank you for sharing. And hopefully you guys have a great opportunity within the go-to sessions and within your courses to get to know each other a little bit better. So networking is going to be important. You want to reach out and keep in touch with as many of your classmates as possible. You never know who you might be sitting, not, virtually sitting next to in your classes as you move through your degree program. So keep in touch with them, ask for help. Some of your students are so very talented in certain things and could actually be quite beneficial as you're moving through your degree program. So thank you guys for sharing. I do appreciate that. So moving forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about expectations. So I'm going to go first and talk about my own expectations of my students and what I will promise you. And then I want to kind of turn the tables back to you guys and have you participate a little bit and tell me what your expectations are of me as your instructor or Full Sail as a whole. So I'll kind of go first and then we'll take turns and you guys will have the reins after that portion. So first and foremost with my expectations. So I've been doing this for a little while and there's things that I really truly appreciate when students do these things and they're really going to set you guys up for success, not only in my class, but as you're moving through all of the different instructors. And every one of us has a very different teaching style. So you want to try to adapt to everyone's teaching style as best you can. But first and foremost, my expectation is that you approach the class with a positive attitude and an open mind. So I'll comment a little bit about that. So most of you guys, I love it because you're energetic. You're like hit the ground running. You're not at that midpoint where you might be a little more sluggish and overwhelmed. Like you're really excited to get going and meet your classmates and get going with the assignments. And that's great. Some of you guys might not be as open. You might be dreading these core classes that everybody has to go through, or you might really dread the activity of public speaking. And that's fine. I get it. You don't have to love every single class you take, but keep in mind that they're all here for a reason. They wouldn't be here if all of the people that create the academics and the lesson plans and the coursework here didn't find value in it. So try to find something valuable out of each and every go-to session, out of each and every assignment, because it is there to help you advance as you become a professional in your industry. So please keep an open mind to all of the activities and assignments we will be doing. Next is questions. So you guys are first month students. I expect that you have a ton of questions. Oftentimes you might not be able to find this or be able to do that. And I'm totally understanding of that. I understand that you're still getting acclimated with the learning platform, with the course, with the pacing and all of those items. But here is my request of you. If you're going to ask me questions, ask them, but ask them at the appropriate time. So what I mean by that is you've got access to me all week long. You have access to my cell phone number. You have access to me in the evenings. You have a lot of great access to me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. And I try to do so very, very quickly in response times. But what kind of gets to me is when questions are asked after due dates, okay? And so due dates are something you guys are going to have to get acclimated to very quickly because Full Sail is a very fast-paced, everything's kind of condensed and it's moving at a very fast pace. So you have to get used to due dates and how they count and as assignments build upon each other. So definitely ask me something about the assignment or clarifications well before the due date because you have access to me during that time. It's a little more frustrating when a student waits all week, passes the deadline, and moves into the following week and says to me, well, I didn't understand what was going on, or I didn't know what you expected of this assignment. And that's very frustrating, to be very honest, as an instructor, because that question should have been and could have been asked well in advance of the due date. So I will ask you guys to please be sure that you're asking your questions in a timely manner at an appropriate time well before the due date. I will say also, take action in your education. So you guys are all scattered throughout the US, perhaps even different countries. And that's wonderful, but that means I also don't get the ability to see you and know if you're showing up or not showing up. So a lot of this is really very independent upon you guys and really, you're a lot of independent learning, making sure that you are disciplined enough to, manage your time wisely and get things turned in. So you need to be very proactive. If you're struggling with something, if you're not understanding something, I can't see that through this medium. So you will need to be the one that reaches out and takes the initiative so that I can get you to where you need to be. If I can't answer your question, I can get you to the place where you need to be. But I would hate for anyone to just kind of disappear because they're not reaching out to their resources. And you will find that you have a ton of resources available to you. Next, so you get out of this what you put into it, right? And that's true of everything in life. So my expectation, guys, is that you show up every week, every assignment, you bring your best attitude and you bring your best work. My expectation is that you show me and all of your classmates and all of your instructors just how capable you are, all right? So show up and bring your A game each and every week. It will absolutely pay off in the long run. Next, I do expect you guys to really be open to feedback and not negative feedback in any way, but always constructive feedback and guidance, not only from me, but your classmates as well. That's a huge part of the presentation process, is taking in feedback and learning and growing and creating even better assignments and products from that feedback. So that's a huge part of my job, is to help you guys move to the next level. So you will be receiving quite a bit of personalized, detailed feedback from me for each and every assignment. And my intention is that feedback is there to help you get to the next level, to bring it to the next level, to be very dynamic in the way that you're communicating. It's never there to be negative. It's always there to be constructive and positive. And I really take a lot of pride in being able to do that. And as you guys are working with each other, my expectation is that you are also constructive in your feedback to your peers, okay? Be very professional, be very positive, but be constructive as well. Lastly, my expectations. I would ask that you have a high level of respect for the creative diversity that is surrounding you, okay? So you guys, this is kind of an interesting place to be, because you're in a class where there are 8 different degree programs, right? So you're getting to know students from all different backgrounds and going in different paths. So even though they might not have the same, path as you, doesn't mean you can't be respectful of their creativity. It might not look like what you think is appropriate, but there's so much creativity that's surrounding you, not only with your classmates, but your instructors as well. Some of the most creative people I have ever met. So those are my main expectations. We'll talk a little bit about professionalism in a couple of moments. That's going to be another one, but I'll go into detail there. But right now I'd like to kind of turn the tables and go back to you guys and ask you guys what it is that you're expecting from your instructor. So if you would like to respond within the chat box, I'll be kind of repeating some of those messages and items that are coming through. If you would like to raise your hand and talk, I will also unmute the microphone. So I'll give you a moment, kind of put your thoughts together. What is it that you as students are expecting from your instructors? Brett's expecting good grades. Brett, I think that you probably meant that as being funny. Well, I'm expecting outstanding assignments for those good grades as well. So we'll definitely be hopeful that those good grades will reflect outstanding work. Thank you, Brett, for answering that one. Thomas said, "Good answer, Brett." That's funny. What else? What are you guys expecting of me? What do you expect about your instructors? Amber, thank you. I'm hoping to learn important skills that I feel I lack. And so, Amber, I agree. I'm hoping to impart upon you some skills that you can absolutely practice and incorporate into not only your professional life, but I think also into your personal life as well. Obviously, communication doesn't just tap into your job. It also really applies to your relationships as well. And the goal is to clearly and constructively communicate your ideas so that they kind of take life and take on movement there. So that's a great one. So Thomas is saying, I expect professionalism and proper guidance. So hopefully I can deliver on that one, Thomas. I think I try to be as professional as I possibly can. Sometimes I might let that go and joke back and forth with you guys, but it's all in fun, all in good nature, nothing but love behind that. But my goal obviously is to always provide you guys constructive feedback, as PJ said, and proper guidance, as Thomas said. So thank you guys. Mercedes, you're looking forward to getting some awesome feedback as well. My feedback tends to be lengthy, wordy at times, but I really do try to, absorb your assignment and think about, all right, what are some great ways to help you move to the next level? And, could it be visually? Could it be verbally? Could it be with the content? Could it be with how you're connecting with your audience? And I try to offer suggestions for improvement as well. Thank you, Mercedes. Gretchen, you said you covered one of the points I was going to refer. I expect feedback from my instructors. Receiving feedback on each assignment will definitely help me improve. So yes, you guys can expect that feedback. One item to note is oftentimes students think that grades and feedback are just almost immediate. So keep in mind, again, your due dates are usually on Sunday. And so I'm not up Sunday night, starting to grade. I'm hanging with my boys and my family and having a weekend as well. So my grading deadline is the following Thursday. And I do have about 80 students. So if it doesn't come to you, if your feedback and grade doesn't come to you the next day or the following day, please know that it will be there. I'm pretty good about meeting all of my deadlines each and every week, but they do give us some time to get those together. And I want to give you my constructive feedback and personalized feedback. So you will be receiving that. But keep in mind, Thursday is the deadline each week. Jacob, okay, so he said, LOL, Brett. I'm expecting a friendly environment. School is stressful enough, and it's nice to have an instructor that understands that. Thank you, Jacob. I think that's a good point. And I like your name. That's my son's name. So, but I will say that I think you'll find that I'm probably a very empathetic person. I do understand that you guys are juggling a ton, and I'm oftentimes juggling a ton as well. So oftentimes I think grace can go a long way as opposed to shutting someone down because maybe a deadline has been missed, or seeing, trying to understand, hey, I haven't seen you interact in the platform. What's going on? Is everything okay? Do you perhaps need an extension? Just talk to me. I'd rather you talk to me and let me know so that we can kind of both be on the same page and work together on getting you successfully to the end of the course. That's my goal, because when you guys succeed, I succeed as well. So I would hope that you don't take advantage of that understanding and empathy, but I absolutely think that I'm one of the people here that will understand, as opposed to just saying absolutely not, no extensions, no exceptions, things like that. Just talk to me. But when you kind of disappear off the face of the earth, that's when it becomes a problem. And I'm trying to reach out to you and there's no communication. All that I can assume is you kind of just gave up and quit. And I do have a ton of other students to kind of connect with as well. So just communication, guys, is hugely important in the success of your class, not only this class, but every class that you will take. So thank you guys for telling me some of your expectations. Hopefully we can get everybody good grades, as Brett was saying earlier. All right, so let's talk a little bit about professionalism. All right. So you guys do have for this week number 1, a professionalism activity that must be completed. So professionalism is your GPS points, which I'm sure you went over in the orientation. But you will have professionalism as part of your GPA each and every month. And so those are going to be points or deduction of points for when you complete assignments late or you don't attend the go-to sessions, things like that in other classes. In this class, in CRP, I do not count it against your professionalism score if you haven't attended the go-to sessions. That is definitely something you must have the information in order to successfully complete the course. I'm not telling you don't have to come to them, but I will not deduct professionalism points as a result of that. Some classes do. In my other class, I do deduct them if they don't complete the information that's required. But in creative presentation, being a first month class, I don't do that. However, if someone's being exceptionally, and I hate to say this is kind of negative, but rude or disrespectful in their communication with me, in the way that they're interacting with me or their classmates, it's easily something I could deduct professionalism points for. There is going to be one assignment late in the month where if it's not completed, a professionalism deduction is taken. But overall, guys, you'll start at 100, keep that score at 100 by being just very courteous, very professional in the way that you speak in your emails, within the discussion boards as well. If anything kind of gets out of hand amongst classmates, which I've never seen that happen. Hopefully that doesn't start this month, but that's obviously something that could be deducted for professionalism. So keep it, highly professional. Try to keep language professional as well, and we will obviously have a very successful month. But be sure you go into the platform by Sunday of this week and check off that you've completed the professionalism activity within the platform. I'll be issuing the grades for that towards the end of this week. All right, so copyright. So these are kind of going into the policies and procedures section of our lecture. So copyright issues. So I want you guys to understand that as we're working throughout the month, the expectation is that with all of your work that you're giving proper credit where credit is due. So if you're using someone else's images, someone else's music, someone else's wording, I'm not expecting at this point that you submit a formal APA style reference or bibliography or works cited page. You have yet to learn that. That's something that you will go over in English composition. So I'm not teaching that. They will be teaching that. But you need to be giving proper citations for all of your work that you turn in. Just give a citation of, the name of the artist or the website where you found the image, whatever it happens to be. Give credit where credit is due. You don't want to pass off this work as your own. Obviously, you guys are very creative individuals, and you wouldn't want someone else passing off your work as their own. So oftentimes with assignments, you might just have at the very end a references page showing the websites where you have pulled some of these images or perhaps some music, things like that. In week number 3, I'll show you also some great ways to cite images as well. But I just want you to be aware of that as you're moving forward. All right, college level writing standards. So, and several of your assignments, they are written assignments. One of the first ones is going to be this week, but you need to be sure that you're using college level writing standards. So what does that mean? I am expecting that you're using proper grammar, proper spelling, proper punctuation. You're not using the text speak. You're not, you're using a more formal writing standard. If you have any issues with writing, the Writing Center is always available to you. That's one great resource. And oftentimes, if someone looks like they may need a little extra help with writing, I might give you a reference to go and visit them at some point to schedule an appointment with one of the advisors there. It is important that you're communicating yourself not only verbally, but also in written format, very professionally. So there is one pet peeve that I see month after month after month, and you guys might not notice it much. And I do see it a little bit in the chat box, and I think in that medium, it's no big deal. But especially with formal assignments, this one little item keeps coming up, and I really am very bothered by it. So can you guys guess what my pet peeve is when it comes to writing? And you guys can answer in the chat box. What do you imagine that might be that would bother me with writing? Any guesses? No guesses. Are you guys there? Okay, Amber, bad sentence structure. It's really actually much more simple than that, Amber. PJ, incorrect spelling. That bugs me, but not as much as this. Evan, LOL. I had one student last month that said to me, he's like, it's really tough not typing LOL in my assignments. I said, I get you. Let's see. Text speak, punctuation, late assignments. Grammatical errors and slangs. No, guys. So what's actually bugging me, and hopefully you'll catch yourselves before you do it, but a lot of students don't, is the lowercase I all by itself. It's driving me insane. So that's my pet peeve. Just hit the shift key and the I, if you would, when you're writing your assignments out. I see it all of the time, and I think it's because of text speak, and for whatever reason, autocorrect is not catching it. Vance, you said classic. But it's driving me crazy. So if you guys would just be sure to run a quick spell and grammar check, that would be wonderful, because you might see a comment from me saying, watch the lowercase i's with a smiley face. But it's definitely something I think it's taken over the world and it's bugging me. So I just thought I'd mention it to you guys. So we'll keep moving on here and just quit talking about my pet peeves, right? All right. So lectures are going to be held, with the exception of this week, which is obviously on Tuesday because we had Memorial Day yesterday. Our lectures are going to be held on Mondays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I really want to try to get them done early in the week so that you guys have a good amount of time to get your assignments done and completed. And if there's any questions, you can ask them. They will run about 2 hours. Sometimes as you get towards the end of the month, they might run a little bit shorter. But I would, if you want to attend the live session, probably block 2 hours of your day, because that's about how long it takes to get through the weekly material. If you can't make it, don't worry. I do record each and every session. But I will encourage you to attend the live sessions, because that's where you can, mingle with your classmates. You can talk to your classmates, and it's a great time to get your questions answered as well. With the recordings, you guys won't see the chat box. So that's why I try to repeat the questions that are happening, because you guys, if you're watching the recording, won't be able to see those questions and the students that are asking them. So that's why I repeat a lot of the questions as best I can. But it's a great way to just be interactive with the class. Vance is asking, can we expect most online classes to have live sessions on Mondays? Vance, good question. For the majority of instructors, it's probably going to be on a Monday or a Tuesday. Very rarely will you see Wednesday or Thursday unless it's more of like a follow-up lecture. For the past year, I've been doing it on Tuesdays because my youngest had soccer practice on Monday night. So it was just more of a scheduling issue. But now that they're in summertime, I could move it to Mondays. So oftentimes it's based on the instructor's schedule and where they want to have it, but everyone is going to be different. And even last month, I was doing it Tuesday nights from 7 to 9. So I can change it up every single week. But Monday and Tuesday is probably the expectation that you can see month to month. All right, so guys, so submitting your assignments. So in the FSO platform, that is how you will submit your assignments to me. And I will show you some screenshots of how to do that. But it's important that you're submitting your assignments on time before the deadlines each week. So here's a screenshot of the completion box for one of the assignments. And as you can see, this is a little drag and drop area. That's only going to work if you're creating a file. Say, for instance, you've created a Word document, or you've created a PowerPoint or Keynote presentation, and it's saved as a file. That you can easily drag and drop into the platform. But as we're moving along throughout the month, some of you guys might want to use, programs other than PowerPoint or Keynote or Word to complete your assignments. There's some great online programs that are out there, one of which is called Adobe Spark, and I'll show you that in a moment. It's a wonderful program, but they don't offer you a file to upload. It's really a link to a website where it's housed in their cloud or wherever, however that's done. I'm not too sure and up to speed on that. But they offer you a website or a link to view the presentation or to view the assignment, like YouTube or Adobe Spark. Obviously, you can't drag and drop a web link as a completion. So there's a workaround for that. And I want to share this with you. A lot of you guys won't really this won't click until the end of the week when you're trying to submit and you're like, wait a minute, how do I submit this into the platform? So what you do, if you have created an assignment using a website, you will create a Word document or a text-based document. Within that document, you should include your name and the link to the presentation or the assignment, and drag and drop that Word document as your submission. So what happens on my end is that I open that Word document and it says, just Vance, you're the last one in the platform. Vance has submitted, an Adobe Spark link. I click on the link and then I go out and grade the assignment here. Okay, so that's the workaround if you're using a web-based program for the assignment submissions to show that you've completed or successfully completed that assignment and get a check mark. So that might not come up until Sunday night, where I get a lot of messages. I can't get my assignment loaded. What do I do? What do I do? That's how you do it. So hopefully you'll remember me saying this from Monday or Tuesday's go-to session. That's the workaround for submitting assignments created on a website. Also, file naming conventions. So I would like you guys to get into the habit of naming your files appropriately. This is really the file naming conventions that all Full Sail instructors use. So it's a good habit to get into. It's a great way to start to organize your material. So the correct way to name a file is by your last name _ your first name and _ the assignment name. So there's an example, Heaney _ Kristen _ 1.4 assignment, okay? So as you start to move through, you're gonna be creating a lot of original work. So you want to be able to easily find that. So my suggestion would be to come and get yourselves a great organizational process to save your work from month to month. That's a great way to get started with those file naming conventions. All right, so feedback will be coming to you guys. It will be coming in the form of a numerical grade, but don't only look at that numerical grade. Also pay attention to either my written or verbal feedback. In week number 3, when you create the first draft of your presentations, and we'll talk about that in a moment, I give audio feedback. I'll record myself as though I'm talking directly to you. So listen to that or read the written feedback that I write down, because it's there. It's meant to progress, to get you to progress to the next level, to get you to understand, hey, this was missing, but this should have been included to make it even better. So that's the point about that. But don't just look at the numerical grade, actually observe the feedback as well. All right, so just a couple of screenshots here that I wanted you guys to be aware of that are important about the course, and items that will be helpful to you throughout the month. So as you can see, this is the platform, the FSO platform. It looks a little bit different on your end. Obviously, you won't have a grading section, but you will have this about section here. So if you click on that, this is going to come up with a couple of downloads for you. You've got the course syllabus, which obviously is going to be important, the FSO support card, which is incredibly important, and then some bonus material. But I wanted to show you the FSO support card and mention this, this resource to you guys. It's very important. So as you could probably tell, I'm not the most tech-savvy person on the planet. You can obviously ask me technical questions, and perhaps I can answer it, but more than likely I can't. And I will refer you to FSO support, especially if it has to do with issues with uploading assignments. There is no way that I'm able to kind of be that intermediary to help you get that tech issue solved. FSO support, on the other hand, has the tools to help you do that. They can log in, they can kind of take over and see what's going on your end. I don't have those capabilities. So this is going to be a definite number that you want to put into your contacts. It's toll-free number. They're open from Monday to Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., almost 24 hours a day, every single day of the week. So my suggestion is get to know them, very friendly, and they're there to get help to you. Also, another great piece of information is that when you guys call in asking for assistance, it's showing me, because they send me a report ticket saying such and such student has contacted us and we wanted to follow up with you as the instructor. So if you're having issues leading up to the deadline, and you don't want late points taken off because your assignment was late because you're having tech issues, this is a great way to show me, hey, I'm going to all of the avenues possible to get this assignment submitted. So reach out to them. They're available to you. That is their number, that toll-free number, and it's something that you should definitely get familiar with early in your time at Full Sail. Okay, so also when you are in the platform, I would suggest you click on the little icon with your picture that you will eventually upload to see some resources here. Okay, so this is where you will have access to your books for the class. We have 2 books for this class, and that's in Safari Books. So that's an easy place to access the books. And this is also a great place to access lynda.com for some wonderful tutorials. So here are the books that we will be using in our class. The first is called Resonate. The second is called Slideology. They're both by Nancy Duarte. So we'll be diving into the Resonate textbook first this week, and then we'll pull Slideology in starting in week number 2. But that Safari Books link is where you can access these 2 books throughout the month. This is just a screenshot of lynda.com. This needs to be accessed through the library website. You can't just go straight to lynda.com because they'll ask for a login, an ID, or password where you have to pay. But as a Full Sail student, you can log in through the library and have free access. And this is a great place to have very professional how-to instructional videos about almost anything that you can imagine. So if you're not one that is well-versed in these presentation softwares, this is a great place to start. I will say this, guys. This class is all about teaching the concepts and the best practices for creating and delivering a presentation. We don't go in and teach all of these different software programs, how each of them work. That would take up so much time because there's so many out there. So if you want to become well-versed in PowerPoint, if it's not a program you've used before, it's a great presentation software. Easily go into lynda.com and do a quick tutorial. If it's something like Keynote or Adobe Spark, you can easily enter those into the search and learn more about how these programs work. But as an instructor, I just want to be very clear that we don't teach how to create a presentation using the software. That's something that you have access to through lynda.com, whichever one that you feel comfortable with, and that you need to learn a little bit more about that. All right, guys, so I'm going to take a breath here for a minute because I want to talk to you a little bit about what you'll be working towards as we move forward throughout the month. But I want to stop here and see if there's any questions that I could address, anything you'd like me to clarify before moving forward. Okay, Gretchen. So you're asking if for any hypothetical reason we're unable to get the assignment uploaded by the due date, are we able to email the assignment directly to you? Could that be considered as a last resort or last resolution option? Good question, Gretchen. So within the platform, you guys will see that submission area will shut down completely and close. I like to call it close by once it clicks over to midnight, 12 a.m. the next day, it closes down. What also stays open, though, is the feedback section. And in there, you can actually include submit the website. You can include an attachment, if you will. So I have a lot of students that sometimes they're trying to move through the upload. It's a little slower than they anticipated, especially as you're moving towards that Sunday night deadline, because all Full Sail students basically have that same deadline. So upload times tend to slow. So if you do move past that deadline and it shuts down, don't freak out. Just try to submit it within the feedback. Send me a note saying, hey, it's just a couple minutes past the deadline. Here's my assignment. Maybe you could say, just send me a quick note letting me know you got it or something like that. If you do need to email it to me, I'd rather, like you said, that be the kind of the last resort option, because it does all need to be contained within the platform. That's where I download all of your assignments together and keep all of my grading information together. So good question about that, Gretchen. Let's see, Brett, is there a confirmation when you submit an assignment? Brett, yes. So as long as you submitted prior to the deadline, once you've submitted it, you should see that orange circle. There should be a check mark in there showing you've successfully either submitted or completed all of the elements of the assignment. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, guys, so if something comes up regarding those types of items, we can always talk at the end. Oh, Brett, you have another question. Let me see. Is it common to have issues logging into Lynda with a cell phone? That's a really good question. I've not tried to do it on my cell phone personally, and I've not heard of any of my students having issues with it. I know a lot of you guys are using your cell phones to complete your courses until you receive your launch boxes. I know that a lot of people are doing that. So I've not heard of any issues. Again, that's another great resource is FSO support. They can probably help you with that if you are having issues with the login. But I have not personally heard of any. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward because I want to take some time to talk to you about what you're working towards all month, okay? And that is going to be your final project. So obviously, your final project is going to be a presentation of some sort. So throughout the month, we're going to be really trying to take everything you've probably ever learned about public speaking and presentations, and I want you to kind of throw it out the window, okay? I do have students that think a great presentation is just a text-based bullet list of slide after slide after slide of content, and that's not really a great way to convey and connect with your audience. So a lot of those ideas that maybe you've heard about in prior, educational settings or work settings, ask you to kind of throw that out the window and start fresh with a blank slate. So we're going to move towards a more TED Talk style of speaking. And if you haven't ever heard of TED Talks, you'll get very familiar with them this week because that's a huge part of your week 1 assignment. But through this final project that you'll be starting to work on, forming and creating a plan for next week, is called the Brand Yourself presentation. So all of my students that go through this class and every CRP class have to create a 3 to 4 minute audio visual presentation that's got some basic elements to it. Okay, so some basic elements include clearly identifying with your target audience at the very beginning of the presentation, having a clear organizational structure to your content, meaning a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. Really telling the audience why it is that they should want to look into maybe either hiring you or working with you as a client in the future, talking about what it is that makes you uniquely qualified. And that's going to include some research that I'll walk you through in week number 2. So that's what you're working towards is a dynamic audio-visual presentation that will last 3 to 4 minutes. And I will also provide you guys several great examples of my past students that have created this presentation for their final project. They've given me permission to share that with you. So you can get a great idea of what it is that you're working towards. Obviously, we have a lot of ground to cover over the next couple of weeks before we get to that point. But that's what I'm grading right now for my May students is their final projects. Okay, so I want to give you guys a good overview of what it is that you're working towards, what you'll be building over the course of the next 4 weeks. Hopefully that didn't overwhelm anyone. But of course, in a creative presentation course, you will have to create a presentation. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of information about that, but not to fear, not to get overwhelmed. We have a lot of ground to cover. But in the meantime, you definitely want to start learning some, maybe one or a variety of presentation softwares. Thomas, I see your question. I'll get right back to you in a second. But really, guys, take advantage of your access to lynda.com because if you, say for instance, you're great at PowerPoint, but it's something that you'd really like to just dive into something new. One that I really highly suggest, guys, is Adobe Spark. It's a free program. It's all based online. You don't have to download software or anything like that. But these other programs are fantastic as well. But it is one that I think is my favorite. It really does create a dynamic professional product at the end. So check that out if you've never done that. But you do have access to Microsoft 365 with programs such as PowerPoint, Word documents as well. So make sure that you start learning some of these programs and taking advantage of lynda.com with those tutorials. So Thomas asked, are we required to check into class every day? Thomas, I would suggest, again, setting your notifications to let you know, perhaps if I've reached out to you in a message in the platform or you've gotten feedback and a grade on your assignments. I would suggest at least logging in once a day just to see what's going on. Some of the assignments will require you to kind of come back and comment on what some of the other classmates are doing. I'm not checking to see if you have, it's not part of your grade, but I think just to get you set up for success, that would be ideal for you to check in each and every day. Thank you for the question. All right, guys, so moving forward here, talking a little bit about our textbooks and our author. So there's 2 textbooks that I mentioned just a few minutes ago by Nancy Duarte. I think they're very different than any, college textbooks that I've ever encountered before. As you can imagine, most of them are quite boring. But Nancy Duarte does a really nice job of just kind of cutting to the chase and really giving you very practical tips on how to be successful with this skill. So we're going to be using Resonate and Slideology. Resonate talks all about dynamic content, how to reach out and connect with your audience and giving tips and ways to succeed with that. Slideology is all about the aesthetics of your slides or your visuals and how to connect with your audience non-verbally using dynamic images that are emotional and impactful. So those are the 2 textbooks. I can't wait for you guys to dive into those this week. And each week you will have reading assignments to complete. Nancy Duarte also does have a multimedia version of the Resonate textbook at resonate.duarte.com if you would like to access that. Slideology can be accessed only in Safari books. Okay, so there are the 2 textbooks, and we'll kind of bounce between the 2 throughout the month here. So I want to get into the all-important information about your assignments this week, all right? So I'm going to walk you through these assignments in really great detail. If you want to take notes, take notes. You guys do have access to the recording if you need to revisit the explanation of the assignments. But this is a really great place to, interact with me if you have any questions, and then I will also show you guys some examples as well. So each week, it is pretty well organized into 4 different weeks, obviously. And this screen here is just kind of a snapshot showing everything that you need to accomplish here in week number 1. So everything, as you can see, has an opening date. This column here is the opening date, and that's when you're able to access those assignments. So you guys had access to the class and everything on May 28th, just the week 1 material. Everything this week, with the exception of assignment 1.3, there's 2 deadlines for this one. Everything else will be due by June 4th, which is this upcoming Sunday at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time, okay? So, if you're one that's not very good with time management, set reminders in your phone, anything that you need to do to be sure that you are making all of these deadlines, okay? Again, upload speeds slow down quite a bit as you're approaching that deadline. I don't know why, but a lot of students put it off till the last possible minute. And they're, poor thing, at 11:58, they think they'll just pop that right into the platform when, 17,000 other students are doing the same thing. So obviously it's not something you want to wait until the last minute to do, okay? But this is one assignment here, the 1.3, has 2 deadlines. So your initial post for this assignment, I'll discuss this in good detail in a moment, but the initial post is due this upcoming Thursday, May 31st. And then Amber, thank you for letting me know that. Let me get back to that in one moment. But the initial post is due Thursday, May 31st. The platform actually says Wednesday, but because of the holiday, I extended it till Thursday for you guys. So you'll have an extra day because we got started a little bit late. And then the 2 reply posts are going to be due by June 4th. Amber, thank you for correcting me. June 4th is a Monday. And she said, do you mean June 3rd? Actually, I mean June 4th. Because of the holiday we've given you guys, instead of Sunday, it's going to be Monday to complete that assignment. So make sure, I'm sorry I said Sunday, I'm so ingrained in my head. I forgot about the Memorial Day holiday, but thank you for correcting me, Amber. June 4th is a Monday, and so you need to complete it by then because we started a day late, so we're having that extra day made up then. So week number 2 will be a little bit condensed next week. So just be sure that you've got that deadline in there. Thank you again, Amber. All right, so let me go through each of these assignments and what you need to do to successfully complete each one. So the 1.1 go-to training is obviously if you're here live, what we're doing right now. So this is just a screenshot of the message that I added here. So you will see the registration links each week are included in this area. So where it says click here to register for the week 1 live go-to session. That's where you guys would access that registration link if you want to attend live. Once I have the recorded link, I will go ahead and change that message to say click here to view the recording of the week 1 lecture. Okay, so you can go back and visit that recorded link in the same exact area as well. I will change that once I have the link completed. So you also need to mark this assignment as completed to show that you have successfully either watched the live session or the recording. So pretty easy. Either you did it or you didn't with this particular assignment. So make sure you mark as completed to show that you've successfully done this assignment. All right, the 1.2 learning activities. So each week you will have learning activities such as your reading or perhaps additional videos that I would like you to watch. But for this week, it's pretty simple. We're only going to cover chapters 1 through 4 and chapter 7 from the Resonate textbook. So easy kind of honor system here this week. In week number 1, I want you to mark as completed once you have completed the reading. In the following weeks, it gets a little bit more detailed by adding a post to the readings to show that you did it. But for week number 1, as you guys are still getting acclimated, just go back in there and check that box that you've completed this assignment. All right, so for the 1.3 presentation history discussion, this is 5% of your overall course grade. So week 1, you've got a discussion board. And as Amber just pointed out to me, June 4th is a Monday, not a Sunday. So your 2 reply posts are going to be due by Monday, not Sunday. I should have corrected that as well. But your first post is due this upcoming Thursday, which is May 31st. So be sure that you've completed that. So let's go over the instructions and the expectations for this assignment. So as you can see, the first post, it says in the platform, is due by Wednesday night. You guys have until Thursday. But you can see my initial post completed, and they're available for all of you guys to see to kind of start this discussion out. And so for our first discussion as a class, I really want you guys to just share your past experiences, your thoughts, perhaps your fears, your excitement about public speaking, okay? And there's different prompts that I'll go through that you should answer for the initial post. But you also, in order to complete this assignment, must reply to at least 2 different classmates using the RISE model, and I'll talk about that as well. All right, so in the completion box, you need to add your initial post. Most students just type this directly into the platform, but you can also, if you wanted to, attach a file. If you wanted to complete this in a Word document, you can attach a file for us to access as well. But most students just type their message or their initial post right into the completion box. So once you've done that, the entire class will be able to then see your initial post and share it with everyone within the discussion board. All right, so let me go over the instructions with you from the downloads, and I'll talk about the grading for this assignment as well. So most of you guys should or probably have some experience of some sort with either delivering a presentation or perhaps being an audience member to a presentation. But think about a time. It could have been in your earlier years with your education. It could be professionally. It could be personally, where you've experienced a presentation. So that's what I want you to kind of focus on for the topic of this assignment. So with the instructions, I've got this broken down into a couple of different sections here, and we'll talk about each section. So first and foremost, in the discussion board for your initial post, these are the prompts that I want you to address. So I want you to be sure you've gone through and you have completely, answered each and every one of these questions, all right? So first and foremost, in your initial post, I want you to describe your level of comfort in delivering presentations. Are you fearful or are you completely comfortable? Explain to us why. And if you have fears, what would make you feel more at ease? Also, discuss a public speaking experience that you remember. Was it good or was it bad? And what did you learn from the experience? Third, I want you to discuss a time that you created a visual presentation. Perhaps you've used PowerPoint or Keynote. Maybe it was a video that you created. What was your biggest challenge? What did you learn from that experience? So once you've answered those 3 questions, also be sure to tackle these 2. What would you like to learn from the class? And what do you think you need to improve upon in your presentation skills? So by answering those 5 prompts thoroughly, you will have completed the initial post, which is due by Thursday. So after you've done that, I would like you guys to come back and revisit the discussion board and really start to interact with your classmates. You are required to make a minimum of 2 reply posts to 2 different students in order to successfully complete the assignment. 2 is not the maximum, 2 is the minimum, and I highly encourage you to really start to connect with your classmates, and this is a great way to do that. But I also want you to use the RISE model for constructive feedback. And you're probably saying, what in the world is the RISE model? So let me tell you about it. So the RISE model is an acronym. It stands for RISE, all right? So as you are creating your reply post to your classmates, I want you to go into depth with them. I don't want to just see, yeah, I totally relate to that experience. Thanks for sharing. Okay, that really isn't, interacting very well. The whole purpose of these discussion boards is to mimic a classroom environment. And it's kind of hard to do that, but we're trying the best we can to give you that feel of having that interaction with your classmates, okay? So especially for week number 1, I want to see that you use the R and the I acronyms, the reflect and inquire acronym portions of this acronym here. Also incorporate the suggest and elevate as well. But really, guys, I'm looking for you to see if you've engaged with that classmate and you've also asked them questions, because inquiring and asking questions is a great way to keep the conversation rolling. And that's the whole point here. So you need to reflect, okay? I totally agree. I disagree with whatever it is that you have said, or, I completely understand where you're coming from. That's a reflection type of statement. Asking them, hey, so what was it like when you went on, that trip? Or what was it like when you had that experience? Tell me more about that. That's inquiring. That's asking the student or the classmate to go more into depth with their experience. And then you can suggest and elevate, giving constructive feedback for maybe what they could perhaps do in the future and expand a little bit upon that. Okay, so I'm looking for you to use that RISE model, RISE, as you are creating your 2 reply posts, okay? So why do I mention that? That's part of your grade. So here is the grading rubric for this assignment. Just a screenshot here. So for the 1.3 presentation history assignment, there's going to be 4 different categories that I'm looking for when grading the assignment, all right? And so there's 4 different categories, as you can see here on the left: relevance, rationale, learning community, and mechanics. And across the top that you can also see kind of a range of grades. So you've got the exemplary column, the accomplished, developing, and beginning column, and then obviously the incomplete if it wasn't done, and that issues a grade of 0. And this is what I use when grading your assignments, okay? So obviously everyone's going to aim for the exemplary category because that will get you the maximum amount of points. But if I'm looking at your assignment and I can't justify that you've done an exemplary job, I can't justify assigning that grade, okay? So for instance, when I'm grading this assignment, regarding the initial post, student post content related to the discussion topic includes all prompts and required questions. So make sure that you answer all of the prompts that I just went over in the instructions. With the rationale, student expresses opinions and ideas in a clear and concise manner with obvious connections to the topic. Detailed explanations are provided where appropriate. I am looking for depth. I am looking for specifics. I am looking for explanation, okay? So don't just be short and sweet and to the point. Offer us a little bit of detail about your experience. All right, here is the learning community, and this is where those 2 reply posts come into play. So if you've replied to at least 2 of your classmates and you're using the RISE model with your feedback or your replies, that's an exemplary reply. But if, you only replied to 1 student, or, you just said something very short and sweet, you didn't use the RISE model, I wouldn't be able to assign that 30 points for that portion of the grade, okay? So you must complete those 2 reply posts with the RISE model. And then lastly is the mechanics, okay? That's where that college level writing standard, no lowercase i's all by themselves, are going to come into play. So run that spell check, run the grammar check, punctuation, capitalization, all of those items I'll be looking at as I'm grading your assignment as well. So that's how I come to the grade for each and every assignment. Each and every rubric is different. I'll go over each rubric with you for each assignment. So you have an understanding of, how I pulled this grade out of the air, and that's how I do it. It's based on the rubrics. All right, guys. So as I wrap up the discussion on the first discussion post, so here's a couple of tips to help you be successful with these class discussions. First and foremost, post your initial post by the deadline. For this week, it is going to be Thursday, May 31st. Please do answer all of the required questions. Those instructions are there. Use it as a checklist. Be sure that you've got everything included. I definitely encourage you guys to interact with at least 2, highly encourage more of your classmates, but definitely use that RISE model. And then remember that you need to reply to at least 2 of your classmates, okay? So do I have any questions about this assignment before moving forward? It's pretty straightforward, I think, but if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them right now. So I'll pause for a moment. Okay, Jacob, you're asking, do we have access to these resources that you were showing? Jacob, tell me which resources you're referring to. Like the RISE model? Is that what you're asking about, Jacob? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go actually into the platform and show you guys very quickly what it will look like. Can you see? It looks like I'm, online in the FSO platform. Is that what you're showing? Okay, cool. Thank you. Alrighty. So let's go into all my classes. So preview. It's hard to say because you guys don't have the exact same view that I do, but I'm trying to go into the 1.3 assignment here and it should show those downloads when you click on that. So if you go into the 1.3 assignment, you will have access to the instruction PDF. That's what I just showed the screenshots of, the rubric, and the RISE peer feedback model. So all three of the items that I just showed with those screenshots are available to you guys within that platform. So you just have to go into each assignment, and each assignment contains all of these items. So you should be able to access it there. You are very welcome. Okay, guys, any other questions about the first discussion assignment? Anything else I can answer? And it'll be interesting, guys, after your first week of just kind of getting acclimated, you'll start to just bounce around all of these different assignments, and it'll be no trouble at all. But I'm sure right now it's very, very overwhelming where everything is at and how to remember where everything goes. So if you have questions, if you can't find something, just ask me and I'll be happy to direct you to it or send you the file directly. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. So again, guys, this is due, first initial post is due Thursday, and the 2 reply posts are due on June 4th. So be sure you complete that one. All right, so here is, oh wait, I have another question, Gretchen. The points to address on the discussion post are on that first document that we can download, right? Gretchen, yes. So back to the platform. If you go and click on the PDF within the assignment, all of those questions are listed within the instructions document. So that's where you would find that. Okay, so if you guys have any other questions, just kind of hold them. You're welcome, Gretchen. Just hold them for a moment. We can go over them at the end of the session as well, but I want to be sure that I go over this one. It takes a little bit of more time, but it is the main assignment for the week. So this is the 1.4 professional presentation analysis assignment. It is 15% of your overall course grade. It is due by Monday, June 4th, not Sunday, because you have that extra day. So let's check out the instructions and the downloads and the rubric for it. Okay. So with this assignment, as I mentioned earlier in the go-to session, if you don't know about TED Talks, this is where you will get really familiar with TED Talks very, very quickly. So just question to you guys, have you guys ever heard of or seen a TED Talk, TED? Are you familiar with them? Mercedes, yes, great. Okay, so hopefully you guys, and Jennifer, Jacob, yeah, Brett, you watch them all of the time. So wonderful. So if you guys are not familiar with them, the website that you will be using for this assignment is going to be TED or TED.com. And what I'm going to ask you to do is visit the TED.com website and watch a minimum of 3 different TED Talks, because the purpose of this assignment is to first get you in the seat of the audience member. Okay, so you have to be the audience member before you can actually know what the audience needs, because you eventually are going to become the presenter. But first, we need to kind of take the seat of the audience member and take an analytical look at what's going on with these presentations. So you have complete and utter freedom to choose whatever topic you would like to choose. So for me, I'm a communications girl. I love the communication style, subject matter TED Talks, okay? But not all of you guys are going to be interested in that. Some of you might be more music focused. There's a lot of gaming TED Talks that are out there. There's just so many. But if you go to TED.com, you can easily search for a subject or topic search term, and a ton of items will come up. So I'll go over the particulars of this assignment, but I would like to say that I would like to see you complete this assignment. It is overall a writing assignment. I would like to see you complete it as one cohesive document, okay? So let's go through the instructions, and I'll kind of reiterate what I mean by that, and I will show you 2 examples as well. All right, so I really want you to go to TED.com and focus on not only what the presenter is saying, but how the presenter is delivering the information, okay? That means we need to become someone that looks with a critical eye and a critical ear at how this person is delivering their information. So I want you, again, to watch a minimum of at least 3 different TED Talks to answer the overall question of what is it that makes a presentation effective, creative, captivating and or inspiring. Okay, so that's really what we're trying to find out. But this is going to be completed in a series of 3 steps. There is going to be a visual element to this assignment, so you need to choose a program that where you can include some images as well. Word document is fine, PowerPoint document is fine, an Adobe Spark presentation is fine, Prezi works as well. Those are some different softwares that I've seen used to complete this assignment. I'll show you 2 very different but very well done student examples. All right, so as you're watching each of these 3 TED Talks, you're going to complete 3 different analyses. Okay, I'm not asking you to summarize the content. We're going to move beyond that. I want you to analyze the speaker, the presentation, the content, the delivery, all of that. If you've never really done an analysis before, these prompts here are there to help you move through that process, okay? To get you focused more on the analysis or the execution of the presentation rather than a summary. Can include a little bit of summary information, but I'm really looking for you to focus on analysis information. So in step number 1, I want you to respond to all 6 of these prompts within your analysis, okay? And you're going to do 3 different analyses. So in the first prompt, I want you to answer the question, why was this presentation powerful or moving? Second, why did you like this presentation? Was it the content alone, or was it how the speaker delivered the content? Third, what made the content appealing? What made it relatable? Fourth, how did the speaker draw you in to care about the subject or the topic? 5, what did you get out of the presentation that you would have not experienced reading an article about the topic? And lastly, what kind of emotions did the presenter elicit and how did they do this? All right, so that's step number 1, and this should be completed 3 different times because you're going to watch 3 different TED Talks. So I would like you to use those 6 prompts as your guide to completing the analysis of all 3 TED Talks. So once you've completed step number 1, you're going to move into steps number 2 and 3. So step number 2, you're going to create a document. Like I said, it's a written assignment, and I'd like you to include supporting visual imagery. What do I mean by that? I'd like you to include an image that is enhancing or complementing the verbal content or the analysis portion of your information, okay? So and I'll show you 2 examples of that in a moment, but you need to include some images to enhance the analysis. Lastly, step number 3, conclude your assignment with your own list of 10 qualities, techniques, or presentation skills that made the presentations that you've watched inspiring, creative, captivating, and effective. I would also like you to provide specific examples coming from each of the TED Talks to support why you found these elements effective. Okay, and I'll show you examples of that in a moment. Don't just create a list of 10 like eye contact, movement. You need to tell me how did speaker number 1 use eye contact effectively within the presentation. So you need to go into a little bit of detail there. And it's only 1 list of 10. It's not a list of 10 per TED Talk. Okay, so step number 1 is the 3 analyses. Step number 2 is to include an image for each of those analyses, complementing or enhancing the content. And then step number 3 is that 1 list of 10 qualities with supporting evidence showing why that particular quality was effective, okay? So, and I would like this all to be completed as 1 cohesive document. So let me show you 2 examples and you'll get a much better idea of how this will come together. All right, so I have 2 students that volunteered to let me use their work. It was fantastic work, and I was so impressed by it. I said, would you mind if I share this with my future students? All right. I will say this to you guys, and this actually happened last month, so I really want to be very clear about this. These students are allowing you to use their work as an example. I should not see their content coming up in your own work. That is clear and blatant plagiarism. It's something that is not It's not something that we take lightly. So that did happen to me last month. It's something I had to deal with. So I really, guys, if you want to use these as an example, that's the great way to do it. But please do not include their content within your own work, because I'm very familiar, obviously, with these two assignments that I'm going to show you. So please use this as example purposes. So this is an example of an Adobe Spark presentation. This is used with the Pages option. So it kind of looks like a website. But if you wanted to use Adobe Spark, this is kind of the end product that it will create for you. So I want to show you an example, and then I'll show you a very different one, but also an outstanding job. So this is created by Lisa Muse about a year ago. She did fantastic. So her first analysis was about John Legend's TED Talk. She's obviously included a great supporting visual here of John Legend, so that visual works very well. That's her portion of step number 2. But she moves beautifully through her analysis. She's in depth, she's detailed, she's addressed all of the questions that are included within the prompts in the assignment. So she's done a great, thorough job. This is analysis number 2, talking about the agony of trying to unsubscribe. She's included a visual as well, very detailed analysis. I'm not going to obviously read every analysis to you, but you can go back and visit those. I'll include these with my follow-up message to you. Her last one, her third one, is about falling in love is the easy part. And so she's got this image that complements that as well. So that's the first and second step, the 3 analyses plus the images to support her content here. So we move to the bottom, and she moves into her top 10 list. And so she's got humor is a great icebreaker, as experienced with James Beatick's unsubscribed presentation. So she's told us what that quality is and how that particular speaker incorporated that quality into their TED Talk. Okay, and so she's moved through, 10 different effective qualities that she found to be captivating throughout the presentation. So that's a wonderful, very detailed A+ work from one of my great students in the past. So that's one way that it could appear here. That's created through Adobe Spark. But I also wanted to show you another example. I'm not sure what program this was created with. I think it was PowerPoint, and she saved it as a PDF document. Okay, this is by Marisol Rodriguez about a year ago as well. Very clearly organized and laid out, but completed in a very different program. So it looks different. All right, so for Marisol, she has created, she's got a lot of continuity with her formatting, very vivid image to support her first analysis talking about video games. So she's got the video game controller. She's even included a little quote there from the TED Talk. So thorough analysis with a complementary visual as well. Her next one's talking about, can you really tell if a kid is lying? Obviously, the image is of a little girl. Maybe she's lying, maybe she's not, but definitely complements the analysis. For the next one, her last and final analysis is talking about addiction is a disease, and a very powerful image here to complement her analysis with the person's hand being chained to a bottle. That goes hand in hand with talking about addiction, having that feeling of being chained to an activity or behavior of some sort. So wonderful job with that. So 3 analyses paired with 3 different images to complement her content. And then she moves into a very nicely organized 10 qualities. So she's got her first 4 that are, organized very, very well with a lot of detail. And she's gone the extra step to include a small icon for each of the qualities. So she's gone that extra mile to provide, in addition, an additional image to complement that. So she's got captivating visuals, storytelling, on the next page, empowering the audience, tone of voice, relatable comparisons, and appealing to emotion. So wonderful job by both of these ladies, past students of mine that volunteered to share this example with you. So I wanted to share that so you have a better idea of what it is that I'm expecting for that exemplary work that you guys will all, I know, be turning in. So that's 2 examples there. So let me move through the grading rubric, and I'll pause for questions about this assignment. As I said, the grading rubrics are going to be what I use for grading each and every assignment. They all look a little bit different. They can include different, categories and items that I'm looking for. So for this one, it is 15% of your grade. So I'm looking for the content. Have you met all of those steps and requirements thoroughly? So steps 1, 2, and 3 have all been completed for exemplary status there. Critical thinking, that you provided in-depth explanations, that all of the prompts were considered, especially for the analysis, before crafting the assignment. Relevance. This is one that a lot of students don't necessarily think about, but it is important. I am looking for you to directly relate the course materials back into your assignments, okay? So for this week, talking about the audience being the hero, maybe you could say, well, speaker number 1 really did not consider the audience very much when crafting their argument or when crafting their message. They should have done this instead. Or maybe just kind of addressing something that they did really touch on, or maybe they missed within their presentation. But make sure that you're directly relating the course materials, lecture, text, books, videos, all of those back into the assignment. Mechanics, that's college level writing standard. I'm looking for you to have exceptional command of grammar and mechanics with no errors. And then lastly is the delivery, and that's where the visual portion of this assignment comes into play, that the visuals enhance the main points of the presentation, that the text is readable and clear. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for each of these categories. So Ricardo had the question, any way that we can get a link to these examples? Yes, so when I send out my follow-up message a little later on today, I will include the link to the go-to session, and I will also include the links to those 2 1.4 TED Talk assignment examples, and I will also include links to the final presentation that I promised you earlier. So those follow-up messages are going to be important for you guys to really absorb and get additional helpful hints that would be helpful for completing assignments and seeing what it is to expect, also reminders and things like that. Okay, so I've been talking for a long time. What are your questions, guys? Let me know what you have questions about. Gretchen, you're welcome for that. I'm happy to help you guys in any way that I can, really help you be successful. I think by showing you examples, a lot of us are visual learners. I am definitely a visual learner. So providing those examples is one of the best ways that I can help you guys in being successful. So use that as a great guide when you're creating your own assignment. All right, Jacob, so are we needing to make similar content to what we saw, or are we free to make it how we want? Jacob, good question. You guys, as long as you are completing all of the requirements of the assignment, so for instance, in this one, you've completed steps 1, 2, and 3, and you're thorough and you're detailed. The creativity you incorporate is totally up to you. You can be as creative as you want to. So as you saw, those 2 assignments really just did a thorough job of completing all of the steps, but they looked very, very different. But if you have something in your head that really, you kind of take this creative path that looks nothing like those 2, go for it. Absolutely. I invite your creativity. Just keep in mind that there has to be a kind of a standard across the board when it comes to my grading. And that rubric is what I use to be sure that you're hitting all of those requirements. So hopefully that answered your question, Jacob. But you guys are free to use whatever program you want to. You're free to use whatever TED Talks that you want to. You're free to make this your own creative assignment, but you need to be sure that all of the requirements are met. Ricardo, any other creative sources other than PowerPoint, Adobe Spark that you've seen that work really well? I've seen Prezi. I'm not always that impressed with Prezi. I've seen Powtoon. That usually comes into play with the audio-visual assignments. I'm not the hugest fan of those. I really would say that Keynote, PowerPoint, and Adobe Spark really get the job done well. Students oftentimes will use Word for this assignment too. You can definitely use a Word document. Okay, so going back up to the chat box here. So Gretchen's saying, so to sum up the assignment, it should be 3 analyses, include images, and 1 section for the top 10. You got it. That's a great summary right there, Gretchen. That's exactly what I'm expecting. Brett, can I use TED Talks from YouTube? Brett, I would prefer if you go to the TED Talk website. You can use TED or TEDx Talks. Some students want to use just any speaker from any kind of event. I would prefer if you would kind of keep it to the TED, organization that they're presenting those. If you are finding a link on YouTube, but it's clearly a TED Talk, however you find it, but I think the best route will be to go to TED.com to find these videos. Jennifer, for pictures that we include in our presentation, are we required to include a Works Cited page for those pictures as well at the end? Great question, Jennifer, and the answer to that is yes. So unless you've incorporated your own images, your own work, more than likely you're taking a screenshot of the speaker, or you're including powerful images to complement the content. So if they're not your own images, you need to just do a quick references page or Works Cited page, showing the person who created that image or the website where you have found that the original source of that image. But you need to tell me where that information is coming from. I'm not expecting that formal APA style. You'll do that much later on. Thank goodness I don't have to do that. But I will expect to see a references page for each and every assignment. So thank you for asking that, Jennifer. Any other questions that I can address for you guys? They're great questions. Thank you. Okay, Jacob. Okay, so good question. He's asking, what is a good place to get images for our project? I normally show this in week number 3 when we're talking about visuals, but I'm going to show you one site. It's called compfight.com. And this is a great resource for you guys when you're starting to pull images that are copyright free to incorporate into your projects, okay? And so let's say, kind of going back to the TED Talk talking about addiction or video games, okay? Let's do video games. So I could just type in video games as a search. And over here is just a couple of different items that you want to be aware of. You want to use the commercial tag on it because that's the ones that you have free access to. I would say with this site, avoid the ones that are above this dotted line. And here's why. So say, for instance, I wanted to use this image right here when I'm talking about video games. So this one's going to come up as a Shutterstock image, and you see this huge watermark, right? That is a big fat indication that you do not have the rights to this image. So you either need to create an account or pay for this image to remove that watermark. So avoid images with watermarks, guys. So on this site, compfight.com, usually what you'll find down here below this dotted line are going to be free images. So let's see if I can find something useful here. Let's say this one. Okay, so this one has, I can easily incorporate this because I can download it, all right? So there's different download sizes here, and you hit download. I would say probably the largest one because you want it to be crisp and clear and not blurry and pixelated if it's blown up. So you can download the image, and this is also a great site because back to what Jennifer asked, it also gives you the photo credit, okay? You can copy and paste this reference right here and paste it into a Works Cited page or reference page to show where you've obtained that image, all right? So that's a great start, is compfight.com. That's what I usually show in week 3. I will show it once again in week 3. But think about the content of your analysis and what would be a good keyword search term to look for, and come over in here. I really want you guys to get away from using Google Images all of the time. I want you to start to look at different resources here. But that's a great place to start. So Jacob, hopefully that answered your question with that quick demonstration. All right, Jennifer is asking, for former papers, where did it go? For former papers I used MLA format. Do you have a required format we need to use, or is MLA fine? By the way, I used the most recent edition. So Jennifer, I believe, I'm pretty 100% sure that at Full Sail they use APA, not MLA. I'm very familiar with MLA, but in this class in Creative Presentation, we don't require MLA format. If you want to go into MLA format, that's fine if you're familiar with it, but really just a reference to the website will be sufficient. So in English composition, which I think you guys will be taking month number 4 or 5. I'm not positive. They are the chosen ones to teach APA style and really look for that within your assignment. So I don't have to do that. Thank goodness. But if you are comfortable with that, you're fine to use it. I'm not going to be taking off points for styles or anything like that. You're welcome, Jennifer. Okay, Jacob, I'm glad that answered your question. And then Gretchen, you had a similar question about APA versus MLA. So thankfully, I don't have to worry about it, which is great. But later on, you guys will have to worry about those different formal citations, and they're just, oh, so much fun. But in this class, just like I said, copy that web link to show me where you found that resource. That will be sufficient. So any more questions before we move on? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to talking a little bit about the content for this week, and then we'll wrap up and call it a day, and week 1 lecture is over. So guys, as we were talking about, your 2 textbooks are Resonate and Slideology. And these books are very, very different from your normal traditional college textbooks, which are actually sometimes very boring. So again, Nancy Duarte is the author of these textbooks, and she teaches professionals how to give presentations. I believe I will be including her highlight reel in my follow-up message if you'd like to take a little bit more look into what it is that she does. She does a really great job within the textbooks of delivering her content and her information. So Resonate, which is the textbook that we'll be talking about mostly in week number 1, is all about how to tell a story, okay? And storytelling is a wonderful way to make a solid connection with your audience, which is our focus for week 1 and will remain a major focus for the remaining weeks. But how does she do this? How does she go about telling a great story, okay? She makes the audience the hero and the central focus of the presentation. And that's going to be important because I'm expecting you guys to start looking at your audience as your hero and the central focus for your own presentations. And that may be a very different thought process than you've ever had before, because for most of us, we've learned that we as the presenter are the central focus of every presentation. So I'm going to ask you guys to kind of shift that perspective and push that focus outward to connecting with your audience. That's what it's all about. And I also want you to focus on story structure, organization, a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. Once we hit slideology, this is all about pulling in the slide aesthetics, how to make them visually appealing for your audience, and how to best deliver information with a visual aid. So that's what these two books really kind of work together in harmony, trying to give you guys the best ways to communicate with your audience, both verbally and non-verbally. So I want to talk with you guys for a bit about what elements are needed in order to have an impactful story. What is it that makes a story successful, impactful, and memorable? What do you think is absolutely needed? At the very bare minimum, at the very core, what do you have to have for a successful story? And you can answer me in the chat box here as well. What is needed for a story? Okay, Gretchen, a good plot. Connor saying relatable characters. Brett saying emotion. Drama with an exclamation point from Mercedes. All great answers. But you definitely need to start at the very beginning with organization and a clear structure. A story must have a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. And then on top of that, you guys that answered in the chat box, wonderful answers. Conflict, connections, a captivating beginning, a need to care about your characters. It also must have a purpose, an identifiable structure, a buy-in or intrigue. Harry's saying it has to be believable. Okay, you have to have that buy-in in there. But at its core, most of us pull in information very logically. If something makes sense to us, we're going to understand it, okay? And so organization is important, beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, I have two boys. Obviously they've been my babies since they've been my babies, but they're coming up and getting a little bit older. But as they were growing up, have you guys ever heard a young kid tell a story? Have you ever heard that? So my little one, Jake, I remember one time he was telling me about some monster truck movie. And the story went on for like 5 full minutes in the car. And Jake just kept saying, and then, and then, and then, and it just would not go. It was like, bring it home, sweetie, bring it home. Like, come to the conclusion at some point. But kids tend to just continue it on and on and on. But for your stories, guys, you need to be sure that you have that clear beginning where you're making that solid connection with your audience. The middle, you're really talking about the bulk. And then you have that impactful ending where you're ending, having your audience wanting to know more about it. Okay, so be sure that you've got that clear structure when you start to create your own stories, okay? And then also have all of those great elements that we'll be learning about throughout the month, but that is definitely necessary. So let's talk a little bit about the audience. And so at some point or another, and hopefully you're not feeling this way right now, maybe you feel like the little Lego guy behind the glass wall that's on your screen. Have you ever felt trapped as an audience member? Hopefully you're not, like I said, hopefully you're not feeling that way right now. But have you ever felt trapped in a presentation and you just couldn't escape? More than likely you guys have. Either Amber's saying many times, period. Maybe that's been at work. Maybe that's been in different presentations in college settings, whatever that happens to be. You don't want your audience feeling this way. So the focus should be, the audience should be engaged from every aspect of the presentation, from the beginning to the end, both verbally and visually. Gretchen is saying her work meetings, absolutely. I think we've all felt that way at some point, but definitely a feeling you don't want to convey to your audience is to make them feel trapped. You always want them to feel engaged and wanting more, okay? So you need to figure out how to get to know your audience. And for the most part, I'm going to reference your audience as your heroes, okay? Right now, you guys are my heroes. And for the purposes of this class, I am your mentor. So it's a mentor-hero relationship, okay? So I want you guys to really keep this concept. It's a huge concept about the course, one that will really start to fall in line as you start creating your own presentations, the planning assignment next week. But think about your audience, all right? So the presenter or the speaker is the mentor, and they're going to be the ones that share their knowledge and experiences, and they kind of give that roadmap to success. They act as the GPS system, all right? So the mentor is the one that plants the seed, that gives the instructions, and the hero or the heroes are the ones that go out and follow the steps to actually fulfill the mission. Okay, so think about it. When someone is speaking, a hero is speaking, and you're the mentor, or excuse me, when the mentor is speaking and you guys are the heroes, you are expected to take it to the next step. Perhaps it's voting for a candidate, it's buying a product, it's joining a particular team, right? If you're the heroes taking in that message, you're then on the mission to complete that assignment, whatever it happens to be. So for this class, I'm going to be the mentor for a while, providing the tools and the wisdom for creating an effective presentation, okay? Kind of giving all of my experiences, combining it with the lectures and the books and all of that to give you as much information as I can for you guys to eventually shift and become the mentor, okay? So you guys, for the time being, are going to be my heroes. You will do the work and you will do the assignments and accomplish these things throughout the month. But in your final project, you will then shift to become the mentor and guide your audience into doing something as a result of your presentation, okay? More than likely hiring you at the end of the presentation. That's the goal. But that's what I want you to remember is really making a strong connection with your audience. Sometimes that's challenging because we have to figure out, well, who on earth is our audience? And you have to do some research about that. We'll talk about that in week number 2, how to do some research for this presentation that you are completing. But overall, there's some ways that you can think about your audience on more than a demographic level. When I say demographics, those are items like gender, age, religious, religious affiliation within an audience, income information, education levels. Those are things that you could find out easily, probably within a survey, something like that. So you need to get a little bit deeper with your audience prior to a presentation. You really need to get to know them. And so I wanted to kind of share with you my thought process of what goes through when I'm crafting a message for you guys, my heroes, as your instructor, okay? And so if I'm thinking about what it is to really kind of connect with you as your instructor in our relationship, here's what I think about. I think about your lifestyles, right? Every one of you guys, I will guarantee, has quite a hectic lifestyle, okay? You might have, you're busy juggling your family, your job, your education, also your hobbies, your social life, your professional life. You've got a busy lifestyle more than likely, okay? So I've got to keep that in mind, that this is just a piece of the pie. Your education is a piece of the pie. It's not the whole pie, but just a piece. But it is something you truly value. I also need to think about your knowledge prior to our lectures. For the most of you, maybe you've had just a little bit of public speaking experience. I'm not coming into our lectures thinking this is a master's level course in communication. I have to go back to more of the basics and what it is that you need to be aware of, because I want to be respectful of your knowledge level. I also don't want to talk under you or talk over you. Okay, so that's going to be kind of a sweet spot in there that you need to know about with the knowledge level of your audience. I need to think about your motivations and your desires. For the majority of my students, your motivation is to complete your degree program with success so you can move into your industry. So you're trying to do it quickly and efficiently and successfully. That's your motivation. For your values, I think about what's important to you. Okay, more than likely that's your friends and your family and your career and this passion that you're following as well. I think about your influences. Who and what influences you guys the most? And more than likely, it's probably someone or something in the arts that has inspired you at some point, knowing that you guys are very creative people. So it's probably going to be something in the arts. And lastly, respect. How does your audience give and receive respect? Oftentimes, it's given and received through listening and through empathy, okay? So you need to start thinking of questions about how to relate to your audience and how to narrow your audience as well. That's going to be important, because when you start creating a presentation, you want them to have the feeling that you're speaking directly to them, that you've crafted and created this entire presentation just for them. And the more narrow your audience, the more effective that message will be. Okay, so that's some ways to relate to your audience. Also, I'd like you to keep this in mind, because I think this is a great thing to kind of keep in mind as you are narrowing. Getting to know your audience. Okay, so this is just a quick quote. Designing a presentation without an audience in mind is like writing a love letter and addressing it to whom it may concern, right? We would never address a love letter to whom it may concern. It's addressed to a very specific person with different experiences and emotions that are behind that. Kind of take that concept there, that quote, and apply it to your own creation of your presentations as well. So you can also segment your audience in a couple of other ways. I mentioned demographics earlier, but that's not the only way. Another great way to, as you're moving into thinking about your audience or a company or something like that, a good place to start is doing some research online about that company, especially about the culture of the company, to get a feel of what it's like to be a part of that organization. Maybe there's some special interests with that organization. With companies, oftentimes they're very involved in charitable work, and maybe that's something that you could kind of tap into and make a connection over through, maybe they raise money for a specific charity. Maybe they host these 5Ks, 10Ks, something like that, something that's a special combined interest that both of you might have. You want to think about the time and the location of the presentation. What time of day is it? What time of year will it be held? Think about that for trying to segmenting your audience. And then also the attitude of the audience. That's going to be something that you need to kind of weigh in on prior to meeting with them. There's a couple of different types of audiences. There's 4 different types here. So the first is going to be a friendly audience. Obviously, the type of audience that we all want to encounter. They're there to hear us speak. Oftentimes, famous people like Tony Robbins or Dave Ramsey, they pay a lot of money to see these speakers. Okay, so oftentimes, if you're paying to get in there, more than likely you're going to have a very friendly audience. But that's not the only kind. You could also have an apathetic audience. That's an audience that may not particularly care about your topic, but your job as the mentor is to communicate why this information would be important or valuable to them. Okay, go back to your audience and find that why. You might have an uninformed audience. Okay, they may not just have prior knowledge about the topic, so you might need to start more with the basics and move up from there to give them a good understanding. So you're not just coming in and talking right over their heads. You need to give them a little bit more information. And then the one that we rarely ever want to have is the hostile audience. None of us want to have a hostile audience, but sometimes that happens. But the goal here would be to find some common ground with your audience, possibly come to an agreement about an issue, and then pose potential solutions that you're projecting there on them. So those are the types of audiences that you might encounter. Hopefully with the majority of our class, you'll have a friendly audience, rarely hostile if ever. But you might have sometimes an apathetic or an uninformed audience, and that's going to take some extra work on the job of the mentor to connect with their audience. All right, so meeting the mentor. So as a mentor, you guys are there to really provide information and direction. And I like analogies, I like comparisons. So again, I'm going to compare this to a GPS system, all right? So you guys tell me in the chat box, what are some of the things that a GPS or a navigation system provides to a user? Maybe that could be content or emotional wise. What are the benefits of having a GPS or a navigation system? Harry's saying clear direction. Absolutely. What else do we need from our GPS when it's working correctly, right? What else do we need other than clear direction? A start and an end point. Absolutely, PJ. Okay, guys, so wonderful. Yes, as the mentor, Brett's saying magnetic poles. I don't know about that. I don't know if as a speaker you're going to provide that. But going back to my comparison here, you're going to become the mentor. You're going to become the GPS system. So you're going to provide the guidance, the confidence, and the necessary tools. You're going to create some common ground by using shared experiences and connecting with your audience, right? You're going to take them from the starting point and provide turn-by-turn directions, and also giving them a sense of security that they're not alone in arriving to their destination as well. So that's what you need to start to become as you shift from being the hero into that mentor position is what we're going to be working on for quite a bit through the majority of the month. So bam, right at 4 p.m. I'm so proud of myself right now, 2 hours on the dot. And I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, go ahead and close off our session for today and be very respectful of your time. But if you guys have any questions, I will go ahead and cut off the recording, but stay in the room so we can address those items. But if you are good to go, you're free to go for the day, and I'll be looking forward to communicating with you and seeing your assignments that are due on June 4th. So you guys have a wonderful day, but I will cut off the recording and stay in the room for about 5 or 10 minutes to see if there's questions. Thank you guys.